The rain had stopped an hour ago, but the streets of Manhattan still gleamed under the streetlights. Elena Hoffman stood near the kitchen door of La Maison Blanche, one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. She adjusted her black apron and checked her notepad. Her shift had started at 4 in the afternoon, and it was now almost 8. Her feet hurt, but she did not complain. She never complained. Elena was 28 years old, with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. Her uniform was simple and clean. She looked like any other waitress in the restaurant. Nobody who saw her would guess the life she had lived before this job. Nobody would know the languages she spoke or the places she had seen. That was fine with her. She needed this job, and she did her work well. The restaurant was busy tonight. Rich people sat at tables covered with white cloth. Crystal glasses sparkled in the soft light. The smell of expensive wine and French food filled the air. Elena moved between the tables with practiced ease. She smiled when she needed to smile. She was polite to everyone, even when they were not polite to her. "Elena, table 12, the manager said as he walked past her. He pointed to a large table near the window. "Important guests. Take good care of them." Elena nodded and walked toward table 12. She could see 3 men in expensive suits sitting there. They were talking and laughing loudly. One of them was speaking on his phone. The other 2 were looking at the menu. As Elena got closer, she noticed the man at the head of the table. He was in his early 50s with gray hair perfectly styled. His suit probably cost more than Elena made in 6 months. His watch caught the light every time he moved his hand. He had the look of someone who was used to getting everything he wanted. "Good evening, gentlemen," Elena said with a professional smile. "My name is Elena, and I will be taking care of you tonight. Can I start you with something to drink?" The man with the gray hair looked up at her. His eyes moved from her face to her uniform and back again. There was something in his look that made Elena uncomfortable. It was not the first time she had seen that look. It was the look of someone who thought he was better than her. "Water," he said in English, but his accent was thick. German, Elena thought immediately. "Bring us water." Still not sparkling. "And we need more time with the menu." "Of course, sir," Elena said. She pulled out her notepad. The man turned to his companions and switched to German. "Finally, someone who can actually take an order," he said in his native language. "These American restaurants, they hire anyone these days." Elena's hand stopped for just a second. Then she continued writing. Her face showed nothing. One of the other men, younger with brown hair, looked uncomfortable. "Marcus, maybe we should just—" "Oh, please, Stefan," the gray-haired man interrupted, still speaking German. "She does not understand a word. Look at her. She probably never finished school. This is what Americans call opportunity. Put on an apron and smile, and you have a career." The third man, older and wearing glasses, laughed nervously. "Marcus, you are terrible." Marcus von Weber, the gray-haired man, leaned back in his chair. He was enjoying himself now. "You know what I love about America? The help knows their place. Not like in Germany, where everyone thinks they deserve respect just for showing up. Here, a waitress is a waitress. She brings food, we pay, and everyone is happy." Elena stood there with her notepad, her face calm. She had learned long ago how to hide her feelings. Years of diplomatic dinners and difficult conversations had taught her that skill. She waited for them to finish talking. "Look at her just standing there with that fake smile," Marcus continued in German. "I bet she has never been outside of New York. Probably never even heard of Berlin. These simple American girls, they live in their little bubble, waitressing by day, watching television by night. No education, no culture, no future." Stefan shifted in his seat. "Marcus, this is a bit much." "It is the truth," Marcus said, waving his hand. "I built a company worth $5 billion. I earned the right to say what I think. And what I think is that too many people in this world do not work hard enough. They blame others for their problems. They take easy jobs and complain about their lives." The man with glasses nodded slowly. "You have worked very hard, Marcus. Nobody can deny that." "Exactly," Marcus said. He looked at Elena again, and this time he spoke a bit louder in German as if to make sure his friends understood his point. "This girl, for example, she is what? 25, 30? And what has she accomplished? She carries plates. She probably makes minimum wage plus tips. And why? Because she did not apply herself. She did not study. She took the easy path." Elena's jaw tightened slightly, but her expression remained neutral. She had heard worse things in her life. Much worse. But something about this man's confidence, his complete certainty that he knew everything about her, made her angry in a way she had not felt in a long time. And her German would probably be terrible even if she tried to learn it, Marcus added with a small laugh. Americans and languages, you know how it is. They think the whole world should speak English. Are you gentlemen ready to order? Elena asked in English, her voice steady and professional. Marcus looked at her as if he had forgotten she was there. No, come back in 10 minutes. We are still deciding. Of course, sir. I will bring your water right away. Elena turned and walked toward the kitchen. Her heart was beating fast, but her steps were calm and measured. Behind her, she could hear Marcus laughing about something. His voice carried across the restaurant, loud and self-assured. In the kitchen, Elena filled a pitcher with water. Her hands were steady. She had dealt with difficult people before. Rude customers were part of the job. She had learned not to take it personally. But tonight felt different. Maybe it was because she understood every word Marcus had said. Maybe it was because she was tired of being invisible. Or maybe it was because Marcus reminded her of other powerful men she had known. Men who thought their money made them wise. She carried the pitcher and 3 glasses back to table 12. The men were still talking in German, but they lowered their voices when she approached. Elena placed a glass in front of each man and poured the water carefully. Thank you, Stefan said in English. He seemed like a decent person, Elena thought. The other 2 were harder to read. You are welcome, sir, Elena replied. As she poured Marcus's water, he looked up at her and spoke in German again. You know what the problem is with people like her? No ambition, no drive. Content to serve others instead of becoming something themselves. It is sad, really. Elena finished pouring. She set the pitcher down on the table. For a moment, she considered walking away without saying anything. It would be easier, safer. She needed this job. She could not afford to make a scene. But then she thought about her father lying in a hospital bed. She thought about the years she had spent studying, working, building a career that she loved. She thought about the girl she used to be, standing in a Berlin conference room translating for ambassadors and ministers. She thought about all the nights she had spent learning German until she could speak it as well as any native. Elena looked directly at Marcus. She saw the expensive suit, the arrogant smile, the casual cruelty in his eyes, and she made a decision. I will return in a few minutes to take your order, she said, then, in perfect German, with an accent that could have come from Berlin or Munich, she added, and for your information, sir, I have been to Berlin many times. Beautiful city, though I must say your grammar could use some work. The correct phrase is Menschen wie Sie, not Menschen wie ihr. But I understand that even native speakers make mistakes when they are showing off. The table went completely silent. Marcus's face turned red. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Stefan looked shocked, his eyes wide. The man with glasses slowly put down his menu. Elena smiled politely. I hope you enjoy deciding on your meals, gentlemen. The lamb is particularly good tonight. She turned and walked away, her head high, her steps confident. Behind her, she could feel 3 pairs of eyes watching her go. The silence at table 12 was so complete that she could hear her own heartbeat. In the kitchen, Elena allowed herself a small smile. She had broken her own rule. She had let a customer get to her, but somehow it felt worth it. Marcus von Weber sat frozen in his chair. His face had gone from red to pale in just a few seconds. The words Elena had spoken in perfect German echoed in his mind. She had understood everything. Every single word he had said about her. Every insult, every assumption, every cruel joke. Stefan was the first to speak. He looked at Marcus with a mixture of surprise and disappointment. Well, he said quietly in German. That was unexpected. The man with glasses, whose name was Heinrich, cleared his throat. He picked up his water glass and took a long drink. He did not know what to say. In all his years of working with Marcus, he had never seen his boss look so embarrassed. Marcus finally found his voice. She spoke German, he said, as if saying it out loud would help him understand what had just happened. Yes, Stefan said. Very good German, actually. Better than yours, apparently. That is not funny, Marcus snapped, but his voice had no power behind it. He felt small and he hated that feeling. Across the restaurant, Elena stood near the bar. Her heart was still racing. She had just done something very risky. Customers complained to managers. Managers fired waitresses. She could lose this job and she could not afford that. Not with her father's medical bills piling up. Not with rent due in 2 weeks, but part of her did not care. She was tired of being treated like she was invisible, like she did not matter. For years she had been important. People had listened when she spoke. Diplomats had asked for her opinions. Now she spent her days being ignored, dismissed, and sometimes insulted. Usually she could handle it. But tonight something inside her had snapped. "Are you okay?" asked Maria, another waitress who worked the evening shift. Maria was older, maybe 50, with kind eyes and gray streaks in her black hair. "I am fine," Elena said. "Just dealing with difficult customers." Maria glanced at table 12. "The German men?" "Yes, rich people," Maria said with a sigh. "They think money makes them better than everyone else. But I have been doing this job for 20 years. I have learned something important. Everyone looks the same when they are hungry. Rich, poor, famous, nobody. They all need food and they all need someone to bring it to them." Elena smiled. Maria always knew what to say. "You are right." "Of course I am right," Maria said. "Now do you want me to take that table? I can handle them if you need a break." Elena thought about it. It would be easier to let Maria deal with Marcus and his companions. But something told her she needed to finish what she had started. "No," she said. "I will take care of them." "Thank you, though." "Okay, but if they give you trouble, you tell me. I am not afraid of anyone." Elena picked up her notepad and walked back toward table 12. She could see the three men talking in low voices. They stopped when they saw her approaching. Marcus would not look at her. He stared at his menu as if it contained the secrets of the universe. "Are you ready to order, gentlemen?" Elena asked in English. Her voice was calm and professional, as if nothing unusual had happened. Stefan spoke first. "Yes, I think we are." He ordered the salmon. Heinrich ordered the steak. They both spoke politely, and they looked at her when they spoke. They had remembered that she was a person. Marcus said nothing. He kept his eyes on the menu. "And for you, sir?" Elena asked, looking at Marcus. There was a long silence. Finally, Marcus looked up. His eyes met Elena's for just a second before he looked away. "The lamb," he said quietly in English. "Please." "Excellent choice," Elena said. "How would you like it cooked?" "Medium rare." Elena wrote down the orders. "Would you like to start with any appetizers?" "No," Marcus said. "Just the main courses." "Very good. Your food will be ready in about 20 minutes." Elena collected the menus and turned to leave. "Wait," Stefan said. Elena stopped and looked at him. "I apologize for my colleague's behavior earlier. It was inappropriate and disrespectful." "Thank you," Elena said. She appreciated the apology, even though Stefan was not the one who needed to apologize. Marcus said nothing. He picked up his water glass and drank, his hand shaking slightly. Elena walked back to the kitchen and gave the orders to the chef. Then she went to the small break room and sat down for a minute. Her legs felt weak. The adrenaline was fading, and now she just felt tired. She thought about Marcus and his assumptions. He had looked at her and seen only a waitress. He had not seen the years of education. He had not seen the languages she spoke or the countries she had visited. He had not seen the life she had built before everything fell apart. Elena remembered the day she had to leave her job at the think tank. Her boss had been understanding. "Take all the time you need," he had said. "Your position will be here when you are ready to come back." But Elena knew the truth. In her field, if you left, someone else took your place. The world kept moving, and it did not wait for anyone. Her father's heart attack had come without warning. One day he was fine, teaching his history classes at the community college. The next day he was in intensive care fighting for his life. The medical bills had been overwhelming. Even with insurance, there were so many costs. Medications, treatments, special equipment. Elena's savings had disappeared in weeks. She had looked for other jobs in her field, but nothing paid enough or offered the flexible hours she needed. She had to be able to visit her father every day. She had to be there in case something went wrong, so she had taken the waitressing job. Then she had added a second job, translating documents late at night. Between the two jobs, she made enough to cover the bills. Barely. Sometimes she wondered if she would ever get her old life back. But most days she was too tired to wonder about anything. "Order up for table 12, the chef called out. Elena stood and smoothed her apron. She carried the plates to table 12, balancing them carefully. The food looked and smelled delicious. The chef at La Maison Blanche was one of the best in the city. She served Stefan first, then Heinrich, then Marcus. Each plate was placed gently in front of each man. "Careful, the plates are hot," she said. Can I get you anything else? More water? Wine? We are fine, Stefan said. Thank you. Elena nodded and walked away. She could feel Marcus watching her now. The shame in his eyes was clear. Good, she thought. Maybe he would think twice before judging someone he did not know. The rest of the evening passed slowly. Elena took care of her other tables. She brought food, cleared plates, smiled at customers, and answered questions about the menu. It was the same work she did every night. But tonight felt different. Tonight she had stood up for herself. She had reminded herself that she was more than her current job. She was Elena Hoffman, and she had value. At table 12, the three men ate in relative silence. Stefan and Heinrich tried to make conversation, but Marcus barely spoke. He pushed his food around his plate. The lamb was cooked perfectly, but he hardly tasted it. His mind was somewhere else. He kept thinking about what Elena had said. She had corrected his grammar. In front of his colleagues. In front of two men who respected him and looked up to him. The embarrassment burned in his chest like acid. But worse than the embarrassment was the realization. She had understood every word. Every cruel comment. Every assumption. He had hurt her, and she had heard it all. And she had responded not with anger or tears, but with dignity and intelligence. She had proven him wrong without raising her voice or making a scene. Marcus thought about his own life. He had built his company from nothing. He had worked 18-hour days for years. He had sacrificed relationships, health, and happiness to become successful. He was proud of what he had accomplished. But somewhere along the way he had forgotten something important. He had forgotten that other people had their own stories, their own struggles, their own worth. When Elena brought the check, Marcus finally spoke. "Excuse me," he said in English, his voice hesitant. "May I ask you something?" Elena looked at him cautiously. "Of course, sir. Where did you learn German?" "I lived in Berlin for 10 years, Elena said simply. "My father was stationed there." "Your father was military?" "Diplomatic service," Marcus felt his chest tighten. Diplomatic service. That meant she came from an educated family. That meant she had probably attended good schools. That meant everything he had assumed about her was wrong. "I see," he said quietly. "Will there be anything else?" Elena asked. "No, thank you. The meal was excellent. I'm glad you enjoyed it." Marcus wanted to say more. He wanted to apologize, but the words stuck in his throat. Instead, he pulled out his wallet and placed several large bills on the table. Far more than the check required. It was not an apology, but it was something. Elena picked up the payment and the check. "I will bring your change." "Keep it," Marcus said. "Please." Elena looked at the money. It was a generous tip. Too generous, really. She knew what it was. It was guilt money. It was his way of trying to make himself feel better without actually apologizing. Part of her wanted to refuse it. But she thought about her father's medication and she took it. "Thank you, sir," she said. The three men left soon after. Elena watched them go. Stefan gave her a small apologetic smile as he passed. Heinrich nodded. Marcus kept his eyes down. When they were gone, Maria came over. "How much did they tip?" Elena showed her. Maria whistled. "Well, at least he knows he was wrong." "Money does not fix everything," Elena said. "No," Maria agreed. "But it pays the rent," Elena smiled sadly. "Yes, it does that." Elena's shift ended at midnight. She changed out of her uniform in the small employee bathroom and put on her regular clothes. Jeans, a sweater, and comfortable shoes. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw the tiredness in her eyes. Dark circles that no amount of concealer could hide. She was only 28, but some days she felt much older. She said goodbye to Maria and the other evening staff, then walked out into the cool night air. The streets were quieter now, but New York never truly slept. There were still taxis driving past, still people walking, still lights in windows everywhere she looked. Elena checked her phone. 2 messages. One from her father's nurse saying he had a good day. One from her friend Jessica, asking if she wanted to get coffee sometime. Elena smiled at both messages but did not reply. She was too tired to type and she had to get to her second job. She walked 3 blocks to the subway station and took the train downtown. The car was half empty. A few tired workers heading home. A couple of young people dressed for a night out. An old man sleeping in the corner seat. Elena found a spot and sat down. She closed her eyes and let her mind wander. She thought about Marcus von Weber and his cruel words. No education, no culture, no future. If only he knew. Elena had not always been a waitress. Just 2 years ago, her life had been completely different. She had worked at the International Policy Institute, one of the most respected think tanks in the country. Her specialty was European relations, particularly the economic and political connections between the United States and Germany. She had written papers that were read by people in government. She had given presentations at conferences. She had been respected in her field. But more than that, she had loved her work. She loved understanding how countries interacted with each other. She loved seeing how small decisions could have big effects. She loved being part of important conversations about the future. Her path to that career had started when she was young. Her father, Robert Hoffman, had been a cultural attaché for the United States. His job was to help create understanding between America and other countries through education and cultural exchange. It was not the most glamorous diplomatic position, but it was important work, and he had done it well. When Elena was 12, her father had been posted to Berlin. The family had moved to Germany, and Elena had enrolled in an international school. At first, she had been scared. Everything was new and different. The language, the food, the way people acted, but her father had told her something she never forgot. The best way to understand people is to learn their language, he had said. Not just the words, but the way they think. Every language is a window into a different way of seeing the world. So Elena had thrown herself into learning German. She studied every day. She practiced with German students at school. She watched German television and listened to German radio. Within a year, she could have basic conversations. Within 2 years, she was fluent. By the time she was 16, she spoke German as well as many native speakers. But she did not stop there. Her father's work took them to other countries for short assignments. A year in France, 6 months in Italy. Each time, Elena learned the language. She discovered she had a gift for it. Languages made sense to her in a way they did not for other people. The grammar, the sounds, the patterns, it all clicked in her mind. She also learned to read people. Diplomatic work meant attending many formal dinners and receptions. Elena watched how adults interacted. She saw how they said one thing but meant another. She learned to notice the small signals. A change in tone. A quick glance. The slight tensing of shoulders. She learned that communication was about much more than words. When it was time for college, Elena had many options. She chose Columbia University in New York because of its strong international relations program. She studied hard, graduated with honors, and went straight into a PhD program. By the age of 26, she had her doctorate. By 27, she was working at the think tank, building a career she loved. Then her father had his heart attack. The subway train stopped, and the doors opened. Elena got off and walked up the stairs to street level. She was in a different part of the city now. The buildings here were older, more worn. This was where she worked her second job. She entered a small office building and took the elevator to the 3rd floor. The translation agency was tiny, just 3 small rooms, but they paid her fairly for translating business documents, legal contracts, and technical manuals. The work was boring, but it was flexible. She could do it late at night when the restaurant closed. She could work on her own schedule. "Hey, Elena," called Tom, the night manager. He was a thin man in his 40s who always drank too much coffee. "Got some new stuff for you. German to English. Looks like technical documentation for some kind of machinery." "How many pages?" Elena asked. "About 60. Needed by Friday." "I can do that." Elena sat at one of the computers and opened the files Tom had assigned her. The documents were dry and technical, full of engineering terms and precise specifications. It was the kind of work that most translators hated. But Elena actually found it relaxing. It required focus and accuracy, but not creativity. She could turn off part of her brain and just work. As she translated, her mind drifted back to earlier in the evening. She thought about the look on Marcus's face when she had spoken to him in German. The shock. The shame. Part of her felt guilty for embarrassing him in front of his colleagues. But another part of her felt satisfied. He had needed to know that his assumptions were wrong. Maybe now he would think twice before judging people. Elena remembered other people who had underestimated her. In her diplomatic work, it had happened often. People saw a young woman and assumed she was an assistant or a secretary. They were always surprised when she joined the conversation. when she offered insights when she knew more than they did. Her father had taught her to use that to her advantage. Let them underestimate you, he had said. Then surprise them. People remember the moment when they realize they were wrong. She finished one document and moved to the next. The office was quiet except for the hum of computers and the occasional sound of Tom typing in the next room. Elena liked working at night. The world felt smaller, more manageable. In the daytime, everything was loud and busy and overwhelming. At night, she could breathe. Her phone buzzed. A text from her father's nurse. Your dad is asking for you. Says he wants to see you tomorrow. Elena smiled and typed back. Tell him I will be there in the morning. Love you, Dad. Her father was her whole world now. Her mother had died when Elena was 20. A car accident that had shattered their family. For years, it had just been Elena and her father. He had supported her education. He had encouraged her dreams. He had been proud when she got her PhD, prouder than she had ever seen him. When he had his heart attack, Elena had been terrified. The doctor said he was lucky to survive, but the damage to his heart was serious. He would need medication for the rest of his life. He would need regular checkups and possibly more surgery in the future. He could not work anymore, which meant he had no income except his small pension. Elena had taken over everything. The medical bills, the insurance paperwork, the decisions about his care. She had moved him into a good rehabilitation facility where he could get the help he needed. It cost almost all the money she made from her 2 jobs, but it was worth it. He was getting better. Slowly, but better. She looked at the time. 2 a.m. She had been translating for an hour and a half. She had finished about 20 pages. Good progress. She would come back tomorrow night and finish the rest. Elena saved her work and stood up. Her back ached from sitting. Her eyes were tired from staring at the computer screen. But this was her life now. Restaurant work, translation work, visiting her father, sleep, and then starting all over again. Sometimes she wondered if Marcus von Weber was right. Not about her being uneducated or simple, but about her having no future. What was her future? Where would she be in 5 years? Still waitressing? Still translating boring documents at night? Her career in international relations felt like a distant dream now, something that had happened to someone else. She thought about the papers she had written, sitting in academic journals that nobody read anymore. She thought about the conferences she had attended, the smart people she had met, the exciting conversations about policy and diplomacy. That world seemed so far away now. Sometimes she wondered if she would ever get back to it. Heading out? Tom asked as she packed her bag. Yeah, long day tomorrow. You work too hard, Elena. She smiled. I work as much as I need to. Well, be safe out there. It is late. I will. See you tomorrow night. Elena took the subway back uptown. The train was almost empty now. Just her and a few other night workers. She thought about what Maria had said earlier. Everyone looks the same when they are hungry. It was true. Rich or poor, educated or not, everyone needed the same basic things. Food, shelter, connection with other people. In the end, maybe those were the only things that really mattered. She got off at her stop and walked the 4 blocks to her apartment. It was a small studio in an old building. The rent was high, but it was safe and clean, and that was all she could afford. She unlocked the door and went inside. Marcus von Weber could not sleep. He lay in his hotel room, staring at the ceiling. Outside his window, the lights of Manhattan glowed against the night sky. The city never stopped, never slowed down. Just like him, he had built his empire on the idea that stopping meant losing. Rest was for weak people. But tonight his mind would not be quiet. He kept seeing Elena's face. The way she had looked at him when she spoke German. Not with anger exactly. Something worse. Disappointment. As if she had expected better from him and he had failed her. That look bothered him more than any angry outburst would have. Marcus got out of bed and poured himself a whiskey from the minibar. He stood by the window and looked out at the city. Somewhere down there, Elena was probably sleeping, or maybe she was still working. He realized he knew nothing about her life, nothing except that he had hurt her. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message from Stefan. I am disappointed in how you behaved tonight. That woman deserved better. We all deserved better than watching you treat someone that way. I hope you will think about what happened. Marcus stared at the message. Stefan had worked for him for 8 years. He was more than an employee. He was a friend, or as close to a friend as Marcus allowed anyone to be. Stefan had never spoken to him like this before. Marcus typed back, "You are right." "I was out of line." The response came quickly. "Being out of line is one thing. Being cruel is another. Good night, Marcus." Marcus sat down heavily in the chair by the window. Cruel? Was that what he had been? He had thought he was just being honest, speaking the truth. But maybe Stefan was right. Maybe there was a difference between honesty and cruelty. He thought about his own journey. He had grown up poor in a small town in Germany. His father had worked in a factory. His mother had cleaned houses. They had very little money, but they had taught him the value of hard work. Marcus had studied hard, won scholarships, gone to university. He had started his first company when he was 25. It had failed. So had his second company, and his third, but he had kept trying. By the time he was 35, he had finally built something that worked. A technology company that provided software solutions for international businesses. It had grown fast. Now at 52, he was worth billions. He had homes in 3 countries. He flew on private jets. He dined with presidents and prime ministers. Somewhere along the way, he had forgotten what it felt like to struggle. He had forgotten that success was not the same as superiority. He had started to believe that his wealth made him better than other people. Marcus finished his whiskey and poured another. He looked at his phone again. On impulse, he opened his laptop and typed Elena's name into a search engine. He did not know her last name, but he knew the name of the restaurant. Maybe he could find something. He called the restaurant. It was closed for the night, but he left a message asking the manager to call him back. It was important, he said. Then he searched for information about the restaurant itself. He found their website, their reviews, their social media, nothing about individual employees. He tried a different approach. He searched for Elena, diplomat, German, New York. Nothing useful came up. Marcus realized he was doing something strange. Why did he care so much? He had insulted people before. It happened in business. You stepped on toes, you made enemies. That was how the world worked. But this felt different. This felt personal in a way he could not explain. At 7 in the morning, his phone rang. The restaurant manager, Mr. von Weber. "This is David Chen from La Maison Blanche. I got your message. How can I help you?" Marcus was not sure what to say. "The waitress who served my table last night, Elena, I need to speak with her." There was a pause. "I am sorry, sir, but I cannot give out personal information about our staff." "If you have a complaint, no complaint," Marcus interrupted. "I want to apologize. I was rude to her and I want to make it right." Another pause. "I see. Well, I can pass along a message if you would like." "No, I need to speak with her in person. Can you tell me when she works next?" David Chen hesitated. Marcus could hear the uncertainty in his voice. "Sir, I really should not share her schedule with customers. I understand. But please, I am not trying to cause trouble. I just want to apologize properly. She works this evening, 5 to midnight. But sir, if you come here and upset her or make a scene, I will have to ask you to leave." "I understand. Thank you." Marcus hung up and sat back. He had the whole day to think about what he wanted to say. But first he needed to know more about who Elena really was. He called Stefan. "I need your help with something." "What kind of something?" Stefan sounded cautious. "The waitress from last night, Elena, can you find out anything about her background?" "Marcus, that is a bit strange, I know. But I need to understand who she is. I made assumptions that were wrong, and I want to know the truth." Stefan sighed. "Fine, give me a few hours." 3 hours later, Stefan called back. "You are not going to believe this. Tell me." Her full name is Elena Marie Hoffman. She has a PhD in International Relations from Columbia. She worked at the International Policy Institute until about 2 years ago. She has published papers on European economic policy. She speaks 5 languages fluently. Her father was a cultural attaché who worked in Berlin, Paris, and Rome. Marcus felt his stomach drop. 5 languages. German, French, Italian, Mandarin, and English. She is more educated than most people we work with, Marcus. She is certainly more educated than me. Why is she working as a waitress? I do not know. But I found some information about her father, Robert Hoffman. He had a heart attack 2 years ago. Major medical expenses, from what I can gather. Around the same time, Elena left her job at the think tank. Marcus closed his eyes. The picture was becoming clear. Elena was not a simple waitress with no education. She was a highly accomplished woman who had sacrificed her career to take care of her father. Everything he had said about her had been wrong. Worse than wrong. It had been the opposite of the truth. "Thank you, Stefan," Marcus said quietly. "What are you going to do?" "I am going to apologize properly." "Good, you should." Marcus spent the rest of the day thinking. He went through his meetings, but his mind was elsewhere. He kept thinking about Elena, about her father, about the choices she had made. He thought about how she had stood there and listened to him insult her, and how she had responded with dignity and intelligence instead of anger. At 5 o'clock, Marcus took a taxi to La Maison Blanche. He arrived just as the dinner service was starting. David Chen met him at the door. "Mr. von Weber, Elena is working tonight, as I said. But please do not cause any trouble." "I will not. I promise. There is a small table in the back. You can sit there and wait until she has a free moment. I will let her know you want to speak with her." Marcus sat at the table and ordered water. He watched Elena move through the restaurant. She looked tired, but she smiled at her customers and did her work well. She was professional, efficient, and kind. Everything he had failed to be the night before. After about 30 minutes, Elena approached his table. Her expression was neutral, but he could see the caution in her eyes. "Mr. Chen said you wanted to speak with me," she said in English. "Yes. Please sit down, if you have a minute." Elena glanced around the restaurant. It was not very busy yet. She sat down across from him, but she did not relax. She sat straight, alert, ready to leave if necessary. Marcus took a breath. "I owe you an apology. What I said last night was inexcusable. I made assumptions about you that were completely wrong. I was cruel and I am sorry." Elena watched him carefully. She did not speak. "I found out about your background today," Marcus continued. "Your education, your career, your father. I realize now that I insulted someone who is more accomplished than I gave her credit for. Someone who has sacrificed a great deal for someone she loves." "You had no way of knowing any of that," Elena said quietly. "But that should not matter. You should not have spoken about me that way regardless of my education or background. Even if I had never finished school, even if I had worked as a waitress my whole life, I would still deserve respect." Her words hit Marcus hard. She was right. The problem was not that he had misjudged her specifically. The problem was that he had felt entitled to judge her at all. "You are absolutely right," he said. "I am sorry. Not just because you turned out to be educated and accomplished. I am sorry because I treated you as if you were less than human. I treated you as if your job defined your worth. That was wrong." Elena looked at him for a long moment. "Why are you here, Mr. von Weber? Is this about making yourself feel better? Because if it is, I do not have time for it. I have tables to serve and bills to pay." "I am here because I want to make things right," Marcus said. "I would like to offer you a position at my company. Whatever role suits your skills. Whatever salary you need. I can even arrange flexible hours so you can still take care of your father." Elena shook her head slowly. "No," Marcus was surprised. "No? I do not want a job from you. I do not want your guilt money. Last night you left me a large tip and I took it because I needed it. But I will not take a job that only exists because you feel bad about what you said." "It is not like that, is it not?" Elena interrupted. "If we had not had that conversation last night, would you be offering me a job? Would you even remember my name?" Marcus von Weber left the restaurant that evening with a weight on his chest. He returned to his hotel room and sat in the darkness for hours. Elena's words echoed in his mind. "You can change how you treat other people going forward." It sounded simple, but Marcus knew it was not. Changing the way he saw the world meant admitting that his entire way of thinking had been wrong. It meant questioning beliefs he had held for years. It meant looking at himself honestly, and he did not like what he saw. Over the next few days, Marcus found himself paying attention to things he had never noticed before. The security guard at his hotel who said good morning every day but whose name Marcus had never asked. The housekeeper who cleaned his room and left fresh towels without ever being acknowledged. The driver who took him to meetings and waited patiently in the car for hours. All these people made his life easier, more comfortable, more efficient. And he had treated them like furniture, like they were part of the building rather than individuals with their own lives, their own struggles, their own dreams. On the third day after his conversation with Elena, Marcus did something unusual. He asked the hotel housekeeper her name. Rosa, sir, she said, surprised that he had spoken to her at all. How long have you worked here, Rosa? 12 years, sir. Do you like your work? She looked confused by the question. It is a good job, sir. It pays my bills. Do you have family? 3 children. 2 in school, 1 in college. Marcus thought about that. 3 children, 1 in college. That meant significant expenses. That meant Rosa probably worked very hard for not enough money. Just like Elena. Thank you for keeping my room so clean, Marcus said. I appreciate it. Rosa smiled, a genuine smile that lit up her face. Thank you, sir. That is very kind of you to say. Such a small thing, Marcus thought. A simple thank you. But he could see what it meant to her. Recognition, acknowledgement, respect. He left Rosa a generous tip when he checked out of the hotel. But more importantly, he left her a note thanking her for her service. It was a small gesture, but it was a start. Marcus returned to Germany a week later, but Elena stayed in his thoughts. He could not stop thinking about what she had said. About using his privilege to lift people up instead of putting them down. He wondered what that would look like in practice. He started by changing how he treated his own employees. He learned their names. He asked about their families. He acknowledged their contributions in meetings. His executive team noticed the change, though they did not understand where it came from. But Marcus knew it was not enough. He wanted to do something bigger, something that would actually make a difference. He called his charitable foundation director. I want to start a new program, he said. A scholarship fund for people working in service industries who want to pursue higher education. Waiters, cleaners, security guards, anyone who is working but wants to study. That is a wonderful idea, the director said. How much do you want to allocate? $5 million to start. We can add more if needed. I want to cover tuition, books, and living expenses. I do not want anyone to have to choose between working and studying. I will put together a proposal. Make sure there are no strings attached, Marcus added. No requirement to work for my company afterward. No expectation of anything in return. Just education for people who want it. The program launched 3 months later. It was called the Second Chance Scholarship. Marcus made sure it was advertised in restaurants, hotels, retail stores, anywhere service workers might see it. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of people applied in the first week. Marcus read through some of the applications himself. Each one was a story of struggle and hope. Single mothers working 2 jobs and dreaming of becoming nurses. Young men washing dishes and studying engineering books in their spare time. Older workers who had never had the chance to attend college. Each application reminded him of Elena. Each one showed him that he had been wrong about so many things. Meanwhile, in New York, Elena continued her routine. Work at the restaurant, translation work at night, visits with her father during the day. Her life did not change, but she did not expect it to. She had made peace with her situation. This was her life now, and she would make the best of it. She thought about Marcus sometimes. She wondered if their conversation had meant anything to him, or if he had just moved on and forgotten about her. Rich people apologized all the time, she thought. It made them feel better without actually changing anything. One evening, about 4 months after her encounter with Marcus, Elena was serving tables when David Chen approached her. Elena, can I speak with you for a moment? Of course. Is something wrong? No, nothing wrong. I just got a call from the United Nations. They are looking to fill a position in their cultural exchange program. Someone gave them your name. They want to interview you. Elena's heart skipped. The UN, are you sure? Yes. They said they reviewed your published work and were very impressed. The position involves coordinating educational programs between the United States and European countries. It sounds perfect for your background. Elena felt dizzy. The United Nations. A job in her actual field. A job that used her education and skills. After 2 years of waitressing and translating, it seemed too good to be true. Who recommended me? She asked. They did not say. But someone must think very highly of you. Elena called the UN the next day and scheduled an interview. She was nervous but excited. She spent hours preparing, reviewing her old research, refreshing her knowledge of current policies. The interview went well. Better than well. The panel asked insightful questions, and Elena found herself engaged in the kind of intellectual conversation she had missed desperately. They discussed European relations, cultural diplomacy, language barriers, and educational exchange. Elena felt like herself again, like the person she had been before her life fell apart. 3 days later, they offered her the position. The salary was good, very good, enough to cover her father's care and her own expenses with some left over. The hours were flexible, allowing her to still visit her father regularly. It was everything she had hoped for and more. Elena accepted immediately. On her last day at La Maison Blanche, the staff threw her a small party. Maria hugged her tightly. "I am so proud of you," she said. "You deserve this." "Thank you, Maria, for everything." "You are going to do great things," Maria said. "I always knew you would." Elena said goodbye to David Chen, to the cooks, to the other servers. She walked out of the restaurant for the last time and felt a mixture of relief and sadness. This place had been her lifeline when she needed it. But now she was ready to move forward. She started her new job the following Monday. The office was in Manhattan, in a building with views of the East River. Her desk was in a large room with other coordinators and program managers. Everyone was friendly and welcoming. The work was challenging and meaningful. Elena felt like she had finally come home. 6 months into her new job, Elena attended a diplomatic reception at the United Nations. It was her first major event, and she was representing her department. She wore a professional dress and carried herself with confidence. She was no longer a waitress. She was Elena Hoffman, United Nations Cultural Exchange Coordinator. She was talking with a colleague when she saw a familiar face across the room, Marcus von Weber, talking with a group of European ambassadors. He looked the same as she remembered. Expensive suit, confident posture, commanding presence. Elena felt her stomach tighten. She had not thought about Marcus in months. Seeing him now brought back all the memories of that night at the restaurant. As if sensing her gaze, Marcus looked up. Their eyes met across the room. For a moment, neither moved. Then Marcus excused himself from his conversation and walked toward her. "Elena," he said when he reached her, "I did not expect to see you here." "Mr. von Weber," she replied professionally. "I work here now. I am a coordinator in the Cultural Exchange Program. I am glad to hear that. Congratulations. That position suits you much better than—" He trailed off, realizing he should not mention her previous job. "Than waitressing." Elena finished for him with a slight smile. "Yes, it does. I want you to know that I took your words to heart," Marcus said quietly. "After our conversation, I started a scholarship program for service workers. I also changed how I treat people. You taught me an important lesson." Elena looked at him carefully. She could see that he was sincere. "I am glad," she said. "Truly, the world needs more people who are willing to learn and change." "Was it you?" Marcus asked suddenly. "Did you recommend yourself for this position?" "No," Elena said, confused. "I do not know who recommended me. I assumed it was a former colleague." "It was me," Marcus said. "I called in a favor. I knew someone on the hiring committee. I told them about your background and your qualifications. I did not mention how we met. I just said you were extremely talented and deserved an opportunity." Elena stared at him. She did not know what to say. On one hand, she was grateful. This job had changed her life. On the other hand, she had told Marcus she did not want his help. "I know you said you did not want my charity," Marcus continued, "and this is not charity. You earned this position through your own qualifications. I just made sure the right people knew you were available. That is all. You did the rest yourself." "Why?" Elena asked. "Why did you help me?"